Did you know that South Africa has one of the most progressive and comprehensive bills of rights of all the countries in the world? It's especially very supportive of children's rights. Now, I will include a link to the Bill of Rights if you'd like to read through it, but the point that I would like to make today is that there are a lot of countries that have very good rights in place in their laws that entitle people to certain minimum living standards, certain minimum living rights. And it shows that, okay, maybe our hearts are in the right place. However, how many of these countries actually manifest, actually guarantee these rights to every single citizen? I know that in South Africa, that does not happen. There are a huge number of people living in poverty. There are children who are dying from completely preventable issues, diseases, things like, for example, a very common thing that happens in the rural townships is that people steal electricity from the national electrical provider by doing their own wiring from the electrical lines, and they very commonly start fires. And you hear very often of children dying in these fires in their homes because essentially a lot of the time they're left unattended, or the parents have to work, so there's no choice but to leave the child home alone. And when something happens like that, something that is so easy to prevent, it should be such common sense that things like that shouldn't happen. It happens, and it happens far more often than you might want to believe. So that brings in the question, what is the purpose of a Bill of Rights if the country, if the people of the country, if the people within the government of the country are not willing to actually guarantee those rights, are not willing to actually create the conditions in which those rights are made real, made tangible, made accessible and available to any person? Because at the moment, everyone is entitled to these rights. However, for most of them, you can only have those rights if you can pay for them. You can only have a good quality education and give that to your children if you can pay for it. You can only have good quality food and access to, for example, free range and organic food if you can pay for it. You only have access to clean water if you can pay for it. There's all these things that apparently every person should have according to the Bill of Rights. However, only those who have the money to pay for those rights are receiving those rights. So it kind of begs the question of, what are our priorities, and is it a coincidence that it is so often, or that our basic rights are so often referred to the Bill of Rights, if it requires bills as money to pay for these rights? Because that is, at the end of the day, especially in some countries more than others, like South Africa, if you don't have money, you do not get to have those rights, or you have a lesser version of them. So, for example, there are townships where the government provides clean running water, however, there's one tap for 300 households to share, and it's out in the street. Or the government will provide toilets, except their little outhouses. And in some cases, it's literally just a toilet out in the open. And again, it's one per 50, per 100, per 200 houses. And each house has a minimum, usually, of 4 to 8 people living there, because it's not just parents and children, it's parents, children, grandparents, sometimes it's cousins and aunts and uncles, because everyone lives together to try and essentially survive more easily by combining their household incomes. So, what does this say about us? Because we can't blame the government. It's not like the government is this evil entity that is now preventing people from having rights. It's not just them, it's all of us, because all of us go about our daily lives and essentially we don't ask any questions, we don't challenge this reality, it is simply accepted. We are the ones who are walking around thinking that it's okay for things to be this way when it's not. So that is one aspect that we as a society can start changing within each of us, to start saying and living and giving to each other those things that we would want for ourselves. Okay, now obviously not everyone's in a position to give that. However, we are in a position to stop accepting that rights are only something that you can have if you have the money to pay for them, because that is unacceptable. We need to stop being okay with things that are not okay. And that is the first step that we each need to take to start changing the world, to start changing our communities, even our families, is to start saying that I'm not okay with how things are. I would like to see change. I would like to, in the ways that I am able to, be part of that change. And creating change in our lives and in the community around us, or even just in our family, we don't have to be superheroes. We don't have to go out and feed the hungry and build houses for the poor. But we can start in small ways, in ways that form part of our daily lives, living the principles that would build a better world, that would build a better society. Principles such as give as you'd like to receive, such as patience, such as being kind in moments to people who are unable to support themselves, even if it's giving them the comfort of a shoulder to cry on. It is principles such as understanding, practicing understanding someone instead of judging them. So we can each be part of creating change. And we can each be part of the growing number of voices who are demanding change, who are demanding better delivery of services and rights to those people who are unable to buy those things. We are now reaching a stage in our collective ability to give a much better quality of life to more people, as automation becomes something that is now taking over in a lot of industries. Instead of it hurting the people who are now losing their jobs, it's something that can create a better life for everyone by being part of creating more a world in which we can just be free to live, rather than be forced to survive. So, start with the little things. Start with just you, just how you can be someone who is an example of what humanity could be at our best potential, and prove to everyone in your life that no matter what, no matter how cruel the world is and other people are, that we are capable of standing by principles. We are capable of showing kindness in the face of cruelty. We are capable of overcoming some of the worst parts of our nature. Be part of creating a better society by being a better person at the end of the day. And the tools with which you can be better are available, for example, with Destiny, where we learn how to work with our minds, how to work with those thoughts that have been fueling the worst parts of us, our worst natures coming out, our saying words in anger, being cruel to each other, being greedy, being unkind, being judgmental. Because I'm sure that there are many people who want to change but just don't know how. There are ways to change. So find what works for you. If it's Destiny, cool. If it's something else, cool. Find what works. Alright, I'm going to leave it there for now. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support me, you can do so on Patreon. If you'd like me to cover any particular topics or answer any specific questions, then leave a comment or send a direct message. Thanks. See you next time.